So, you think you know corruption? You see it in the headlines, you hear the politicians blaming each other, and you think, it's just the way things are. But what if I told you that the very people sworn to protect you, the ones you call when things go wrong, are at the heart of the problem? Tonight we're not just talking about headlines, we're going deep into the heart of South Africa's police force to uncover a truth that's as shocking as it is systemic. We're pulling back the curtain on the police stations that have become notorious, not for fighting crime, but for allegedly mastering it. This isn't just a story about bad apples, it's about the rot in the barrel. This isn't some abstract political issue that you can just scroll past. No, this affects everyone. It affects the grandmother in Gugulathu, whose grandson's murder case file goes missing. It affects the small business owner in Sandton, who has to pay a fee just to keep his doors open. It affects you because when you can't trust the police, who can you trust? The breakdown of law and order starts right here, in these buildings that are supposed to be beacons of safety. When the shield becomes a weapon for extortion, the entire foundation of society begins to crack. And believe me, we are all standing on it. So get comfortable, but not too comfortable. We are about to count down the top 10 most notoriously corrupt police stations in South Africa. We've dug through the reports, we've listened to the whispers on the street, and we've connected the dots that many would prefer remain scattered. This is more than just a list, it's a wake-up call. Stick with us, because what you're about to see will change the way you look at the blue uniform forever. The countdown starts now. Kicking off our list at number 10 is a station that's, let's be honest, an absolute classic. Johannesburg Central. It's the big one, right in the heart of the economic hub of the country. You'd think a station this prominent, this visible, would be a shining example of policing excellence, and you would be, well, hilariously wrong. It's more like a shining example of how to run a very different kind of business, one where the currency is dockets, not justice. It's so central, it seems to have made corruption a core part of its operations. The stories that come out of this place are legendary, and not in a good way. We're talking about a level of audacity that deserves some kind of twisted award. Remember the massive cash heist at the OR Tambo airport? Guess where some of the suspects in police uniforms were based? The public complaints log for this station reads less like a record of civic concerns and more like a script for a gangster movie. Officer demanded 500 rand to lose my speeding ticket. My assault case docket vanished after I refused to pay a finder's fee. It's a system within a system. You see, it's not just about a few rogue cops looking for a quick buck. The allegations point to something far more organized. It's a culture where dockets for serious crimes like murder and armed robbery develop legs and walk away, especially if the price is right. It's like a magical disappearing act, but the only trick is a brown envelope. The Independent Police Investigative Directorate, or IPID, has been swamped with cases from this very station, a flood of allegations that paint a picture of a place where accountability goes to die. And the impact on the community? Devastating. How can you report a crime when you suspect the person taking your statement might sell the details to the very criminals you're reporting? It creates a chilling effect. People stop believing in the system. They turn to private security if they can afford it, or worse, they take the law into their own hands. Johannesburg Central isn't just failing to police the city, it's actively contributing to its lawlessness, creating a vacuum where trust in authority has all but evaporated. So while it sits at number 10 on our list, don't get it twisted. The level of alleged corruption here sets a terrifyingly high bar. It's a place where the line between cop and criminal seems to be drawn in pencil, ready to be erased for the right price. It's the perfect, tragic starting point for our journey into the heart of a broken system. The scale of the problem here is immense, a true behemoth of bribery and betrayal in the city of gold. Alright, let's head to the coast for our number 9 spot, Durban Central. Sunny Durban. Famous for its beaches, its bunny chow, and apparently, a police station where the scales of justice are not just tipped, they've been sold for scrap metal. If Johannesburg Central is the corporate head office of corruption, Durban Central is the bustling, no-holds-barred trading floor. Here, the allegations aren't just about petty bribes, they're about high-stakes games that have crippled faith in law enforcement across the province of KwaZulu-Natal. This station has been rocked by some truly high-profile scandals. We're talking about senior officers, the big bosses, being implicated in schemes that would make a soap opera writer blush. There have been numerous cases where officers were allegedly on the payroll of notorious drug lords and taxi bosses. They weren't just turning a blind eye, They were providing armed escorts, leaking information about planned raids, and making sure rival gangs were the ones who got busted. It's not just failing to stop crime, it's actively participating in it as a business partner. The lack of accountability is what's truly staggering. Whistleblowers who have tried to expose the rot from within have spoken of being intimidated, transferred to the middle of nowhere, or having their careers destroyed. It sends a clear message to any honest cop thinking of speaking up: keep your mouth shut if you know what's good for you. This creates a fortress of silence where corruption can fester and grow without fear of consequence. The internal disciplinary hearings, when they happen, often feel like a joke, with slaps on the wrist for offenses that should warrant immediate dismissal and prosecution. Think about the message this sends to the people of Durban. They see these high-profile cases in the news, they hear the whispers, they experience the shakedowns on the street, they see officers driving cars and living lifestyles that their official salaries couldn't possibly support. The trust doesn't just erode, it shatters into a million pieces. Every interaction with the police becomes tainted with suspicion. Is this officer here to help me or to see what they can get from me? It's a terrible question to have to ask. So, Durban Central lands at number 9 not just for the volume of its alleged corruption, but for its brazenness. It represents a station where the command structure itself has been compromised, where the very people in charge of upholding the law have been accused of being its most cynical violators. It's a place where the sun might be shining, but justice is perpetually lost in the shadows, on a permanent, unsanctioned holiday. From the warm coast of Durban, we fly down to the mother city for our number 8 entry, Cape Town Central. Nestled under the majestic gaze of Table Mountain, this station should be a symbol of order in one of the world's most beautiful cities. But beneath that picturesque surface lies a dark underbelly of allegations that are as ugly as the mountain is beautiful. Here, the corruption is said to be more subtle, more insidious. It's not always about the brazen shakedown. It's about the quiet manipulation of the system itself. The name of the game at Cape Town Central, according to numerous reports and insider accounts, is evidence tampering. This is where the whole concept of a fair trial goes to die. We're talking about crucial exhibits from crime scenes, drugs, weapons, DNA samples, mysteriously disappearing from secure lockups, or perhaps even more disturbingly, evidence being planted to frame a suspect or strengthen a weak case. When the evidence itself can't be trusted, the entire judicial process becomes a farce. These aren't just random mistakes or clerical errors. Whistleblowers and defense lawyers have painted a picture of a systemic problem. They speak of dockets being rented out to gangsters, allowing them to see the state's case against them and identify witnesses. Imagine being a witness to a serious crime, bravely agreeing to testify, only to find out the accused knows who you are and where you live because an officer sold them your statement. It's a betrayal of the highest order, and it has a terrifying silencing effect on entire communities. The allegations of misconduct go even further, particularly in how the station is said to police the city's stark divides. There are endless stories of tourists and wealthy residents receiving one kind of policing, while the poor and marginalized communities on the Cape Flats receive another. It's a tale of two cities, policed by one station with two completely different sets of rules. This selective enforcement breeds deep resentment and reinforces the idea that justice in Cape Town is a commodity available only to the highest bidder or the most privileged. So Cape Town Central makes our list because it represents a more sophisticated, more dangerous kind of corruption. It's the corruption that rots the very foundations of the legal system. It's not just about taking a bribe, it's about twisting the truth, manufacturing guilt, and protecting the powerful. Under the shadow of Table Mountain, a different kind of shadow looms, one of doubt, mistrust, and the quiet, chilling perversion of justice. Our countdown now takes us to the administrative capital of South Africa, Pretoria, and to our number 7 spot, Pretoria Central Police Station. You would expect the police station in the seat of government, just a stone's throw from the union buildings, to be a model of integrity, a place where the rules are followed to the letter. But you know, what many insiders and whistleblowers allege is that its proximity to power has made it a specialist in a particularly toxic form of corruption, the cover-up. This is where the power of the badge is, allegedly, used not just for personal enrichment, but to protect the powerful. Whistleblower reports, many of which have been leaked to the media over the years, describe a culture of fear and silence. Honest officers who have tried to investigate sensitive cases involving politicians or well-connected business people have found themselves suddenly transferred, facing trumped-up disciplinary charges, or simply having their dockets taken away and handed to a more compliant colleague. It's a system designed to kill investigations before they can even begin. Internal investigations at Pretoria Central have become something of a running joke. They're often announced with great fanfare after a public scandal, only to drag on for years with no discernible outcome. Reports are compiled, recommendations are made, and then nothing. They gather dust in a filing cabinet somewhere while the accused officers often remain in their posts, sometimes even getting promoted. This lack of consequences sends a powerful message. The system protects its own, especially when the secrets they keep are valuable. The stories are chilling. Dockets related to massive government tender fraud that inexplicably go missing. Cases of political violence where witnesses are intimidated and evidence disappears. It's a station that stands at the intersection of crime and politics, and according to its critics, it has chosen to direct traffic in favor of the powerful. This isn't just about letting a taxi driver off the hook. It's about perverting justice at a national level, undermining the very democracy the police are supposed to serve. So, Pretoria Central earns its place on this list for being the alleged master of the institutional cover-up. It's where cases go to be buried, not solved. Its corruption is a threat not just to the citizens of Pretoria, but to the entire country, because it erodes the principle that no one is above the law. In the capital city, it seems, the most powerful shield is not a lawyer, but a contact at the central police station. We're back in Johannesburg for our number 6 spot, and we're heading to a station with a reputation that really does precede it. Hillbrow. This is one of the most densely populated, complex, and challenging urban environments in the entire country. Policing Hillbrow is definitely not a job for the faint of heart, but for years, residents and watchdog groups have argued that the station has moved beyond policing and into the realm of predatory extortion, preying on the very people it is meant to protect. The primary complaint against officers from Hillbrow Station is extortion, plain and simple. It's a daily, grinding reality for many who live and work in the area, especially undocumented migrants, informal traders, and small business owners. The stories are, honestly, remarkably consistent. Officers conducting random stops, demanding spot fines for imaginary offenses, and threatening arrest, deportation, or the closure of a business unless a payment is made. It's a protection racket, but the gangsters are wearing police uniforms. This creates a pervasive atmosphere of fear and distrust. Who do you report an extortionist cop to? His colleagues at the station, who might be in on the same racket. This is the dilemma that traps so many victims in a cycle of abuse. They know that speaking out could lead to harassment, trumped-up charges, or worse. So they pay. They pay to be left alone, they pay to keep their small street-side stall open, they pay to avoid a night in the notoriously overcrowded and dangerous holding cells. The community's relationship with the Hillbrow police is completely broken. Instead of seeing the police as allies in the fight against crime, many residents see them as just another gang to be avoided. This has devastating consequences for public safety. Real crimes, assaults, robberies, hijackings, go unreported because victims are too afraid to even approach the station. The criminals, in turn, operate with greater impunity, knowing that the community's trust in law enforcement is at an all-time low. Hillbrow Police Station is number 6 on our list because it embodies the street-level, everyday corruption that grinds people down and destroys communities from the inside out. It's not about complex cover-ups or high-level bribery. It's about the abuse of power in its most raw and immediate form. It's about turning a badge into a license to steal from the vulnerable, fostering a brand of policing based on predation, not protection. Cracking our top 5, we head to the sprawling township of Tembisa on the East Rand and its main police station. If the allegations about other stations have been shocking, what has been reported about Tembisa police station takes it to a whole new terrifying level. Here the accusations aren't just about police ignoring crime or taking bribes to look the other way. No, the media has been filled with reports alleging that officers from this station are directly involved in committing the very crimes they are supposed to be fighting. We are talking about some of the most violent and feared crimes in South Africa. There have been numerous media exposés and community reports linking Tembisa officers to cash-in transit heists, carjackings, and organized armed robberies. The allegations suggest that these aren't just rogue individuals, but organized syndicates operating from within the station itself, using police resources, intelligence, and weapons to carry out their criminal enterprises. They have the inside track, and they use it with brutal efficiency. Imagine the absolute terror of that situation. You are being hijacked, you look up, and the person pointing a gun at you is wearing a police vest. Or your business is robbed by a crew that moves with tactical precision, and you later hear whispers that off-duty cops were involved. This is the nightmare scenario that has been described by sources in Tembisa. It completely obliterates the line between law and lawlessness, turning the police station into a potential headquarters for criminal operations. The impact on the community is one of absolute despair. When the police themselves are feared as potential hijackers and robbers, who is left to turn to? The station becomes a no-go zone for anyone seeking justice. Reporting a crime could be tantamount to giving your personal details directly to the criminals. It leads to a catastrophic breakdown of social order, where communities feel abandoned and exposed, caught between the criminals and the cops, who might be one and the same. Tembisa Police Station is number 5 on our list because it represents the ultimate betrayal. It's the point at which law enforcement allegedly ceases to be a corrupted service and becomes an active criminal threat. The reports from this station are a chilling indictment of a system that has allowed criminality to fester to the point where the badge is no longer just a shield for corruption, but a tool for committing violent crime. For our number 4 spot, we travel to the Eastern Cape, to what is now Geberha, and the Port Elizabeth Central Police Station. The Windy City has recently been buffeted by winds of public outrage, fueled by a series of high-profile corruption arrests that have confirmed what many residents had long suspected, that the station is rotten to the core. This isn't just about allegations anymore. This is about officers being led away in handcuffs, a visceral confirmation of deep-seated decay. Recent years have seen a number of dramatic arrests involving officers from PE Central, including senior members. These cases have laid bare a tangled web of corruption, particularly linked to the city's notorious gang problems and the lucrative illegal drug trade. The Hawks, South Africa's elite investigative unit, have swooped in on several occasions, arresting officers for allegedly taking bribes from gang leaders, selling confiscated drugs back onto the street, and even leaking the identities of informants, effectively signing their death warrants. The public outrage has been palpable. When the arrests were made, there wasn't shock so much as a grim, angry sense of vindication. For years, communities had been complaining about the same officers, reporting blatant acts of corruption, only to be ignored. They had watched as certain cops grew inexplicably wealthy, while crime in their neighborhoods spiraled out of control. The arrests, while welcome, were also a damning indictment of the internal systems that had allowed these officers to operate with impunity for so long. This station has become a symbol of the disconnect between the police and the public. Community policing forums, which are meant to build bridges, have often become platforms for residents to vent their fury and frustration, with little to no effect. The trust is gone. People have marched, they have protested, they have shouted themselves hoarse demanding action, only to see the rot continue. The recent arrests are seen by many as just the tip of the iceberg, a small glimpse into a much larger, more systemic problem. Port Elizabeth Central is our number 4 because it is a case study in what happens when corruption is allowed to fester until it explodes into public view. The arrests and the ensuing scandal have laid the problem bare for all to see, sparking a firestorm of public anger and shattering any remaining illusions about the integrity of the station. It's a story of a city that is tired of the excuses and is now demanding a complete and total cleansing of the force meant to protect it. We enter our top 3 with a name that is, just so deeply tied to the history and struggle of South Africa, Soweto. With a cluster of police stations serving this vast, iconic township, the problems here are, honestly, just everywhere. But the common thread that runs through countless complaints, the issue that's become almost legendary, is the phenomenon of the missing docket. In Soweto, it seems the single biggest obstacle to justice isn't a clever lawyer or a lack of evidence, it's actually the police filing system. The missing docket has become a cornerstone of the justice system's failure in this place. A family reports a murder, a woman reports a rape, a man reports a hijacking, a case is opened, a docket is created, and then it vanishes. It's not in the filing cabinet, it's not in the detective's office, it's not even on the system. It's just, gone. And without the docket, there is no case. The investigation grinds to a halt before it even starts, and the perpetrator walks free. It's justice, denied by administrative sabotage. Of course, these dockets don't just disappear by accident. This is where the corruption comes in. For the right price, a docket can be lost permanently. Suspects with money or connections can literally buy their freedom by paying someone inside the station to make the paperwork vanish. It's a clean, simple, and devastatingly effective way to defeat the ends of justice. And it's a system that punishes the poor and the powerless. The ones who can't afford to pay a bribe to keep their case alive, or who can't outbid the suspect who wants it gone. This has led to honestly a profound sense of hopelessness and delayed justice that has festered for decades. Generations of Sowetans have stories of cases that went nowhere, of promises that were never fulfilled, of justice that was never served. This isn't just a failure of policing, it's a deep, generational betrayal of a community that has already endured so much. The police station, which should be the first port of call for a victim, is often the place where their hope for justice goes to die. Soweto's police stations are in our top 3 because of this systemic, soul-crushing practice of docket disappearance. It represents a fundamental breakdown of the most basic function of the police, to investigate crime. It's a quiet, bureaucratic form of corruption that is just as violent as any street-level shakedown, because it murders justice itself, leaving victims with nothing but fading memories and the cold, hard reality that in the place where it matters most, their case simply doesn't exist. Our runner-up for the most corrupt police station in South Africa takes us back to KwaZulu-Natal, to the sprawling township of Umlazi, just south of Durban. Umlazi police station is not just a place plagued by allegations of corruption, it's a flashpoint. It's a place where the community's rage has boiled over into mass protest and open revolt. The situation here has moved way beyond quiet distrust into a loud, desperate, and sustained cry for help and reform. The litany of complaints against Umlazi police is long and severe. It includes everything we've seen before: extortion, bribery, docket disappearance, and direct involvement in crime. But what really sets Umlazi apart is the sheer scale and intensity of the community's reaction. We've seen repeated, large-scale citizen protests directly targeting the station. Thousands of residents have taken to the streets, blockading roads and marching on the station itself, demanding the removal of corrupt officers and a complete overhaul of the station's management. These are not small, isolated incidents. These are mass movements born of desperation. The people of Umlazi have, in effect, declared a vote of no confidence in their own police force. They have held community meetings where residents give harrowing testimonies of police abuse and inaction. They've compiled their own dossiers of evidence against corrupt cops, because they have no faith that the official channels will ever hold them accountable. It's a community that's decided if the system won't fix itself, they'll force the issue. The calls for reform have been specific and loud. Residents have demanded the immediate transfer of officers who have been stationed there for years, arguing that they've become way too enmeshed in local criminal networks. They've called for lifestyle audits to investigate officers who are living way beyond their means. They've demanded transparency and accountability, and an end to the culture of impunity that's allowed corruption to flourish. The protests are a clear sign that the social contract between the police and the community has been completely shredded. Umlazi police station is our number 2 because it represents the breaking point. It's a stark illustration of what happens when corruption becomes so endemic and so unbearable that the people themselves rise up in protest. It's a story of a community that is no longer willing to suffer in silence, a community that is fighting back against the very people who are supposed to protect them. The situation in Umlazi is really a raw, open wound, a symbol of a policing crisis that has pushed citizens to the absolute edge. And so we arrive at number 1, the top of our list, the station that, based on ongoing investigations and the sheer scale of the alleged systemic failure, we have to name as the most corrupt in South Africa, Bloemfontein Central. Why Bloemfontein? Because what is alleged to have happened here goes way beyond street-level graft or even docket manipulation. The investigations point to the station being a critical cog in a massive, province-spanning criminal enterprise allegedly orchestrated from within the highest ranks of the police service itself. The ongoing investigations in the Free State have uncovered a truly staggering level of alleged corruption. We're talking about a system where police resources, vehicles, weapons, and manpower were allegedly for hire, where fraudulent procurement schemes siphoned millions of rands meant for policing into the pockets of senior officers, where promotions and appointments weren't based on merit, but on loyalty to the corrupt network. It is, allegedly, a police service that was captured from the inside. The government's response here tells you everything you need to know. There have been high-level interventions, task forces have been sent in, and numerous senior officers, including provincial-level commanders linked to the station, have been suspended or arrested. The investigations are digging into years of alleged fraud, theft, and racketeering that have effectively crippled policing not just in the city, but across the entire province. The rot, it seems, started at the head, and Bloemfontein Central was its beating heart. The impact of this is catastrophic. When the provincial leadership is compromised, it creates a culture of corruption that trickles down to every level. It means honest, hard-working officers are sidelined, demoralized, and powerless to act. It means the entire system is geared towards protecting the network, not the public. The citizens of Bloemfontein and the Free State have been fundamentally betrayed, their safety and security traded away for personal gain by the very people at the top of the command chain. Bloemfontein Central takes the #1 spot because it represents the absolute apex of police corruption. It's the culmination of all the other problems we've seen. The bribery, the cover-ups, the involvement in crime, all wrapped up in a systemic, high-level conspiracy that has hollowed out the entire police service in the province. It's a chilling example of what happens when the guardians don't just fail, they become the wolves. It is the heart of the darkness we've been exploring tonight. So there you have it, 10 stations, 10 stories of betrayal. From the street-level extortion in Hillbrow to the alleged high-level racketeering in Bloemfontein, the picture is, honestly, pretty grim. It's easy to feel hopeless, to feel like the problem is just too big, too entrenched to ever be fixed. But that is exactly what they are counting on. They are counting on our silence, our cynicism, and our resignation. The truth is, the fight against corruption isn't someone else's job. It starts with us refusing to accept this as normal. It starts with demanding accountability. We have to be the voice for the victims whose cases were lost. We have to be the support for the thousands of honest, brave police officers who go to work every day wanting to do the right thing, only to be trapped in a broken and corrupt system. They are our allies, and they need our support. We must demand transparent disciplinary processes, independent oversight, and real consequences for those who dishonor the badge. We must call on our leaders, not just for talk, but for decisive, visible, and sustained action. This isn't just about crime, it's about the very soul of our nation. The first step is awareness. You can't fight a problem that people don't fully understand. That's why we made this video. And that's why we need you to share it. Send it to your friends, your family, your WhatsApp groups. Start a conversation. Let's make this issue so loud, so unavoidable that it can no longer be ignored. The power to reclaim our police service from the clutches of corruption lies with us. Let's start using it. Thank you for watching.